Hello, my name is Robin, and I'm one of the tech trainers at the Pickerington Public Library main branch. And one of the things I help customers learn is how to use a Cricut. If you're unfamiliar, a Cricut is a computer-controlled cutting machine that can help with a lot of DIY projects. Today I'm going to walk through creating a design that I will then later apply on a t-shirt. I will show how to use some tools in Cricut Design Space, and I will provide photos of the steps beyond the computer. So after we make this initial design, I'm going to turn off the recording, and then I'm going to cut the design and apply it to a shirt, take pictures, and then provide instructions. So first you have to make sure that you have Cricut Design Space downloaded to your computer. There is no longer a browser version of the software, so you will also need to create a login, which is free. So this is where you'll find Cricut to be able to download. design.cricut.com. And I already have it downloaded and I've created a login, so we're just going to go ahead and get started. So when you're in Design Space, I have already created this design and I have made it invisible so I can show you how I did it. But when you start out, you're going to want to use a new project. So I want to use words in my design. I'm going to choose text in the left-hand panel. You'll see a text box appear here, and then you'll write whatever it is that you want to write. Okay. I want to use these words with my design. Get the little box, and you don't need to highlight it. I just do that out of habit. But you have a little box, and then you can go up to font here, and you can choose a font. So when you are choosing a font, you just want to be careful, especially if you're going to sell your shirt, if you're going to use it for commercial purposes. You want to make sure that you're using a font that is free to use for commercial purposes or that you have paid for commercial purposes. And I'm going to link to some places where you can get fonts like that, and also every once in a while there will be font packages for sale. So I'm going to filter it to my fonts. So these are fonts that I've already paid for or that have come free. And I'm going to use Courier New. So, because I want it to kind of look like a typewriter, and that's kind of the style of this font. So this is the font that I want. It's not maybe the size I want yet, but we'll get to that in a second. I do want it in a curve, so I'm going to go to curve right here, and I'm going to start curving it until I get it maybe a little as even as I can. Well, and you can make adjustments more than once. So I'm going to move it up here, and I'm going to use the grid to kind of decide how big I want the circle to be. So on a basic t-shirt, I would say a medium or a large. You probably don't want it to be very big. Like you don't want it to be 10 or 11 inches. So I'm going to stick with about 7 inches here. And that's one way to do this. You could also do it by just increasing the size of the font until you get the size that you want. It depends on whatever you want to do. So, and then I think I'm going to add some images to this. So when you're adding images, you want to make sure at first, of course, that you're using images that are free to use. I'm using images that I found for free on the internet, and there are lots of free image libraries, and I'll also link to those as well. Okay, I want to put a book in the middle, and I want to put arrows on the sides. It's kind of like a reduce, reuse, recycle design. So I'm going to upload image. These images that I found from the internet. So when I found them online, I would have hit upload here, and then I hit browse, and then you would search for where the image is on your computer. But I've already done that, so I'm just going to upload, and here they are right here. These are the images that I used. So I'm going to click on them and I'm going to insert. So this arrow is very interesting. This arrow, when I downloaded it, it didn't look like this. It didn't, this is just, you know, we have this line here and then a line there. I thought it was a full triangle here. So I'm going to change that. I'm going to make it a whole solid arrow. So I'm going to go to Shapes, Triangle, and I'm going to unlock it. And then I'm going to see if I can get a pretty good match. And then I'm going to go over here to where that line is. I'm going to make that line invisible. And that looks okay. So I'm actually going to select them both. And in the bottom right corner here, I'm going to hit Weld. And there, now I have a new arrow, which is far too big. So I'm going to go ahead and shrink that up. I'm going to put it in here. And then I'm going to do Control C, V. On a Mac, it's Command C, V for copy and paste. Still a little too big. So I'm going to make it a little bit smaller. And again, this isn't perfect. I mean, you know, you can always go through and make tweaks and kind of finish it up to your liking. So now I have the book. And these are grouped together. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to right click, ungroup. You can also do it some other way, I believe, but that's the only way I ever do it. So, and then you can, if you want to make sure that they're centered, you can select them both again, align, center horizontally. And that's not quite what I would like. I'm going to go ahead and just move it up. Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to move it to be about the center of my design. And again, you can use that nifty align tool to kind of get that to be the way you want. So one thing that I'm going to do now is I'm going to assign colors to different things. So I'm going to use green for that, and then I'm going to use green for the book. So the reason that I did that is so that, you know, when I go to cut later, the Cricut will divide things up based on the color that they are. So this is our design. This is how it looks. Obviously, we can make changes and tweaks, and that's the way it will be. So let's go ahead, and I'm just going to show you. We'll do Make It. And when we go to Make It, it's split it up by color. And you notice it did this. This is a little funny, but it's okay. I'm not sure why it's doing this with the arrow, but I did notice that if we do this and then mirror, it corrects itself. And mirror is really important because we need to do that anyway. So when you're using heat transfer vinyl, especially, you know, like we are today on a shirt, you have to mirror your image, especially if there are words. The arrows are also important, though. You want to make sure that they're going to be pointing in the right direction, and mirror. This is an option that you'll do right before you cut. So please do not forget to do this, because you will end up wasting your vinyl, and that'll be such a shame. Another thing that I want to mention is that this is a big square of vinyl. So when you've cut it out, before you weed, I suggest cutting in and maybe cutting out the circle on the inside so you can use this later for use. If you want to do this differently, I will show you how. So go down here, you select everything that you want to attach. Go down here and hit attach. And then go ahead and make it. And then this is how it will appear. So that is how you can make the design in Design Space for this shirt. That's how I did it. And now I'm going to turn off the recording. If you would like to know how to cut and apply the vinyl, please refer to the blog post. There are images and directions. Thank you so much. Enjoy!